I'm Codepotic, and welcome to the I Feel Like Trash podcast, the one-stop shop for mental health knowledge. Before we get into the topic today, since this marks the debut episode for I Feel Like Trash, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and why topics involving mental health are important to me. I'm an individual that's been dealing with the medical system for the past decade. Over the years, I've been diagnosed with a lot of mental quote-unquote disabilities. I've done my stints in the psych wards with my grippy socks, and I've had a lot of different medications put into my system. But in all of my years dealing with the medical system, I've yet to find a place for people to express their grievances, a safe space for people who struggle with mental health and feel like they've exhausted all their options, a space where your most inner thoughts can be shared unfiltered. It's common for people who regularly visit their doctor, therapist, or psychiatrist to feel unheard. I say no more. I say if you feel like trash, let it out. Now, I'm sure the question has popped into your head, what makes this dude credible? Or maybe it hasn't and my ego is showing. Either way, it's a good question to answer. By no means am I pretending to have a contemporary education in neuroscience, psychiatry, or any other health field. My knowledge comes from the perspective of the patient, not the doctor. And when it comes to being a patient, I have a lot of experience. Between the ages of 13 and 17, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder type 2 with manic episodes, and schizoaffective disorder. And that is a long, terrifying list, especially for people who don't quite understand what it means to deal with some of those mental challenges. If you don't know what any of those diagnoses means, that's okay. I plan on giving a detailed description on each individual one on a later date. I've just turned 24 years old, and that means from age 13 to present, I've had my fair share of experiences with Western medicine. Like, seriously, I've had enough. And I'm still young enough to where I can remember how it felt as a minor going through the system. I can remember the fear and anger I felt from not being able to speak for myself and having no say-so in my treatment plan. I remember feeling like my feelings mattered less if the people around me thought I wasn't hitting the mark. And in some cases, I remember being straight up lied to about what medications can do for me, or even worse, unknowingly being brought to hospitals against my will. So while I repeat, I am in no way an expert in mental health, nor do my experiences speak for everyone who has a mental challenge, but I do have a story to tell, one that involves a scared little boy and his cry for help, and I feel my viewpoints may speak for a lot of people who still feel like they have no voice. Now, enough about me. Let's get into today's guest, music producer, engineer, and student Rita Lee, and our discussion about the meaning of mental health. The first thing I wanted to start with is, right off the bat, what is mental health to you, and on a scale from 1 to 10, how important do you treat it in your life?
That is such a good question. Mental health to me entails everything, from like my physical health, say physical. I guess that also includes like the things that I put into me, from the food that I eat, the movies I watch.
Yeah, everything you intake.
Yeah. I think that all of that takes a toll on my mental health, or plays a role in what I consider to be good mental health. But it's really like feeling at peace, like being able to go throughout the day and not leave my character. You know, if something happens on the train, I'm not overreacting. If something happens at work, I'm not overreacting. Something happens with family or a partner, I'm not overreacting. Like just being at a consistent level of peace.
Of chillness.
Yes.
Yeah, just consistently chill. That reminds me of like, what is it that the Buddha studies? Nirvana. That's what I'm thinking about when you bring that up. that constant state of just being in peace.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they do it through meditation and whatever the hell the monks do up there on the mountain. But for me, it definitely involves everything you intake. Food, the media is a big piece for me. The media is a really big one for me, especially because in our community, I feel like we don't really have a lot of positive media surrounding mental health. And I'll call it how I see it. I feel like we just in a drama. So much drama, whether it's power or empire. It's just a lot of like drama. Nothing but drama. And watching all of those shows growing up, having basically the media to look at, because, dad wasn't around, mom's always busy. So having the media raise me I personally didn't have a lot of what I would deem now positive role models regarding mental health, regarding taking care of myself, regarding just positive aspects of living life,
I feel that. I definitely agree. I think that the only difference now is that as an adult, I can control what I take in. So, like, I don't watch the news at all, ever. And I used to listen. I used to start my day with NPR in the morning, like just turn it on while I shower and stuff. And now I don't. I'm in oblivion until somebody tells me.
What's NPR for people who don't know?
Oh, NPR is I want to call it a radio station, but it's a podcast, I suppose. And it's where I get my news from. They have an app, and in Chicago, I think I'm not even gonna lie and tell you. Try and tell you what the station is, but that's where I would get my news from. Mm-hmm. And I stopped doing that. I already don't watch a lot of TV either, because like we said, like mental health for me it includes what I watch. So I'm not watching like a bunch of horror films or anything that's too gory. But
I'm certainly not a fan of the news. It's a lot of depressing stuff. It's a lot of depressing things on the news. Yeah, I try to intake positive things that just bring me energy, bring me life. Because I'm really big on energy, because I'm just like very in tune with feeling the different types of energy that's flowing throughout my body and flowing throughout rooms and stuff like that. And so I try to make sure whatever I'm intaking is providing me something positive, some sort of feeling of relief in a way, shape, or form. Sometimes that might be watching BS cartoons. Sometimes that might be working on my music. But mental health definitely means you gotta consciously watch out for what you intake, for sure.
Yeah, and I fall short too. I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. Like I have watched a few episodes of American Horror Story, but I think we know our limits, or at least I can speak for myself when I say I know my limits, and I'll know when like the things that I'm starting to take in are negatively impacting me, and I can take a break because I don't want to be too out of the loop. I still want to be able to go out and socialize. It's like, you don't watch TV, you don't do this. Yeah.
I just started House of Dragons, Game of Thrones.
Oh, do you like it?
Yeah, I definitely. They allowed me to watch the first episode for free without getting that subscription, and I started it, and I bought a subscription right after that.
Dang, they got you.
They got me.
No, that's cool. There was a second part to your question. You said, how do I...
On a scale from 1 to 10, how important do you treat your mental health just on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day, I would say it's at about a 6 right now.
6, a solid 6.
For sure, solid 6.
That's better than 5.
Yes. We can round up. 5 or more, we gonna round it up. But no, I used to meditate a lot more when I was trading Forex. I would get up in the morning and meditate and stuff. But since I don't do that now, I might get up and the first thing I do is say my gratitude. I do that every morning. And that's a good way to start my day and contribute positively to my mental health or my mental health goals. And from there, I feel like I'm pretty even keeled throughout the day most of the time.
Maybe all you need is that little bit of gratitude in the morning, and that sets you off.
I don't know. I feel like I should be doing more though.
Oh, you don't got to should on yourself though.
Okay.
You don't got to do that.
Thank you.
I try to meditate daily. Meditation to me looks different than I feel like how it's traditionally portrayed, like sitting there with your eyes closed and trying to clear your mind and not think of anything. I could be having a million thoughts in my head and be in like and feel like I'm in a form of deep meditation. Like I could have, I don't know. You can meditate on certain thoughts sometimes. You can meditate on certain feelings. So that's definitely something I stick to for sure.
I love that because I think that when we have negative thoughts, when I have negative thoughts, sometimes I feel I'll beat myself up for having those thoughts, but it's like the thought came into your mind and your only responsibility was to really just to address it in a healthy way, you know? So with you saying like you could have a million thoughts going on at one time and that's like a form of meditation for you, I think that that's a really good skill.
I mean, it's hard sometimes to disassociate yourself from your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Like it's easy to have a thought and feel like I am this thought.
Yes.
But that's something that meditation has helped me with because it's just, I don't care how hard you try, you're going to have negative thoughts. I try to block out mine as much as possible, but when they come in, it's about not associating with them, like not dwelling on those negative thoughts and being like, okay, I can have this thought about the first thing that came to mind is Kanye. Like, I seriously thought about killing you today. I could have this thought about that and still be like, I'm a regular person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to act on that impulse. I'm not going to become this thing that I feel like is negative just because the thought popped into my head. Sometimes, you know, they come and they go. And that's what meditation has helped me with because when I first started sitting down to meditate, I would just have thoughts on thoughts on thoughts. And so making sure, I mean, they're not really going anywhere. So you kind of have to just sit with them. And when you're sitting there with your thoughts and there's nowhere else to run to, you have no choice really but to grow and to find some sort of comfort, however that may be. Yes,
for sure. The first time, this is it's not random, but I want to know the first time you meditated, and I'll tell you mine.
The first time I meditated, I would count. I used to go to the AA meetings, and so I will count that mine was in a room full of people, and we used to have it's probably about a minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute of just silence. And so it was really awkward for me because I didn't know what was going on, and everybody was just sitting there quietly, and I just probably sat there quietly and thought about whatever a 19-year-old thinks about girls or whatever it may be. Lord. Anything for that minute. What about you?
That's cool. The first time I meditated was, I want to say 2014 or 2015. And it was a guided meditation. It was on YouTube, and I was having really bad headaches, but I was doing other things. Like I would go for jogs every day and stuff like that. But I was getting headaches, and I found this guy, I think his name was Michael Seeley, on YouTube, and he's a British guy. He has his accent and it sounds lovely. And it was like a 40-minute chakra balancing guided meditation. But when I say it was amazing, like for my first time, I sat there the whole time.
You made it through the whole thing?
Yes.
Really?
I think it was the intention. Like I was intentional about it, and I had headphones. I didn't have any other distractions, and I sat there for 40 minutes, and he walked through the chakras from the root to the crown. And I was just so amazed, but I didn't get headaches after that for a long time. And I think that that's when I also realized that stress was tied to my physical health. Like stress would present in the form of headaches or body pain or other things like that. After I did that meditation.
Yeah, that's a secret that not a lot of people know, man. Stress will definitely manifest itself in physical ways too. But meditation, that'll get you right. That'll get you right, for sure. That's one of my favorite things to do now. I have a chakra cleansing meditation that I listen to when I'm going to sleep. I'll turn it on. I don't make it through the whole thing because I'm laying down to go to sleep, and it's like 3 hours. But I'll turn it on, and I think it's the different frequencies they go through. Like,
okay.
And then they'll go up in the frequency and be like, But that, I can almost feel like the different frequencies playing with my head and just loosening me up. It's like when you get right after you get a good massage and you roll your shoulders and you're like, yeah, that feels good. That's exactly how I feel after I meditate. It feels like just loosening up my brain.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm expanding my consciousness. So the first time meditation probably worked for me was, I'm super bad with times and dates, but it had to be about maybe 2-3 years ago. I was still living in Texas. And we had done I was doing like yoga every week and meditating daily and stuff like that. And I think I noticed it started working when certain thoughts wouldn't come with the weight that they used to come with, if that makes sense. Like for me personally, certain thoughts I can kind of feel, I don't know, the burden of them. Like if I have a happy thought, then I'll have happy energy. Or if I have a sad thought, I'll have sad energy. And it felt like the negative things were just starting to get to me less. Probably because I used to think a lot of negative thoughts. And so sitting there and thinking those negative thoughts for so long, over the years that I was meditating and stuff, they just started to lose their oomph. So they could come in and I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember you. Bye. Get out of here.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like with practice, you were able to gain more control over your mind, like through practice and meditation.
Yeah. And it's like that with everything, really.
Yep.
It's like that with everything.
Practice makes progress is a new saying that I heard, but I feel like it makes perfect.
Practice does make progress. And progress is perfect. That's what I like. Progress is perfect right there.
I like that. Yeah, I definitely agree.
But Rita, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and allowing me to come to your humble abode in order to speak to you about mental health and how important it is.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Thank you for thinking of me and inviting me onto the podcast.
You don't even know what it's going to be called yet, dude. It's going to be called I Feel Like Trash.
Jeez. That's deep.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Thank you all for tuning in to I Feel Like Trash podcast episode 1. It's been a pleasure to make, and I will see you all in the future.